He was minutes away from canceling, the kind of cancellation that leaves people disappointed, frustrated, and questioning their choices. Yet something kept him hovering, unsure, caught between walking away and stepping in. He hadn't expected this day to be anything special, just another ordinary afternoon, until he saw her struggling. She looked tired, stressed, and on the verge of giving up, and he, for reasons he couldn't explain, felt drawn to help. Just as he was about to turn and walk away, a small voice cut through the tension. Her young boy ran up, eyes wide with admiration, and called him Mom's hero. Those words hit harder than he imagined. Suddenly, the decision to cancel seemed impossible. How could he step back after hearing that? The boy's innocent faith and pure honesty made the situation more than just a choice. It became a moment of responsibility, of courage, and maybe even a little bit of fate. In that instant, he realized this wasn't just about helping her, it was about showing up when it mattered most, when no one else was watching. Every hesitation, every doubt, felt heavier now. But could he really rise to the occasion? Would he follow through, or let fear dictate the outcome? He took a deep breath and glanced around, noticing for the first time just how much was at stake. The little apartment was small, a tight squeeze of worn furniture and scattered toys. Yet it carried a warmth that was hard to ignore. The boy's laughter, soft and shy, echoed in the tiny living room, a sound that seemed to carry hope even in the middle of struggle. She was there too, sitting on the edge of a couch that had seen better days, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to juggle bills, a half-empty grocery bag, and the constant worry that weighed on her shoulders. He learned quickly that this wasn't just a one-time problem. She worked 2 jobs, barely scraping by, and somehow managed to hold her world together for her son. Every detail in that small apartment told a story of sacrifice: hand-me-down clothes, mismatched kitchenware, and a stack of unpaid notices quietly leaning against the wall. Her determination was visible, but so was the exhaustion, the kind that gnaws at your spirit over time. As he stood there, he felt the weight of the choice again. The boy's words, Mom's hero, kept echoing, filling him with a sense of responsibility he hadn't expected. But he knew stepping in wouldn't be simple. There were risks, unknown consequences, and a lot that could go wrong. Yet something inside him stirred, a quiet insistence that he couldn't ignore. He didn't realize it yet. But this moment, the one small decision, would set off a chain of events that none of them could have anticipated. Every second that ticked by carried the possibility of change, of hope, and maybe even something bigger than any of them had imagined. He lingered in the doorway, watching her move through the small apartment with quiet determination, and realized just how much was riding on her shoulders. Every step she took seemed calculated, as if she were balancing invisible weights that no one else could see. He wanted to help, but he also knew this wasn't about grand gestures or flashy heroics. It was about understanding the life she lived, day in and day out, and finding a way to make a difference without overstepping. Meanwhile, her son stayed close, tugging gently at her sleeve, glancing at the stranger with wide, curious eyes. There was an innocence in him, but also a subtle awareness that he depended on both his mother and, now, this new figure in their life. The boy's nickname for him, Mom's hero, hung in the air, a reminder that even small actions carried immense weight. It was clear that trust would be fragile, and every move he made from this point forward could either build bridges or shatter them. From her perspective, every interaction carried suspicion. She'd been let down before, people promising support and then vanishing without explanation. The exhaustion in her eyes wasn't just physical, it was emotional, born from years of navigating a world that often seemed indifferent. And yet, when the boy spoke, a spark of hope flickered across her face. A brief moment of light in the shadows. As he considered his next move, the pressure mounted. Decisions had to be precise, timing, critical. One wrong step could undo any chance of connection. Yet hesitation risked leaving them in the same struggle they'd faced for so long. Each passing moment was a delicate balance between courage and caution, leaving the question hanging. Could he truly rise to the challenge, or would he let fear take over? The hours passed faster than he expected, each moment stretching the tension tighter. He moved carefully, offering small gestures of help carrying groceries, fixing a leaky faucet, but even the simplest actions felt like walking a tightrope. Her eyes followed him, a mixture of gratitude and guarded caution, while her son's trust seemed to grow with every quiet smile and word of encouragement. Each interaction carried weight, and he felt the pull of responsibility like never before. Outside, the city carried on. Indifferent to the quiet storm building in that little apartment, he could hear the distant hum of traffic, the occasional shout from a neighbor, yet inside, time felt suspended. The boy's laughter rang through the room again, but now it carried a different tone and urgency, a hope that something was about to change. She glanced at him, hesitation flashing across her face, and he realized that the stakes were higher than he'd imagined. One wrong word, one misstep, and the fragile trust could crumble. Then came the moment that made his heart pound. A sudden phone call, an unexpected message, and the shadow of external pressure pressed against the fragile bubble of their interaction. The stress of her situation collided with his sense of duty, and he felt the tension tighten around him like a vice. Every second felt critical. The boy tugged at his sleeve again, repeating the words that had sparked this chain of events. Mom's hero, and suddenly it wasn't just a nickname. It was a challenge, a call to action, and a question. Could he truly live up to it? In that instant, everything hung in the balance: their hopes, their fears, and the life-changing decisions that had yet to be made. The climax was approaching, and nothing could prepare him for what came next. Just as he was gathering his courage to act, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. He froze, the sound slicing through the fragile calm of the apartment like a knife. She glanced toward the door, her eyes widening in alarm. It wasn't a visitor she was expecting, and the sudden tension made the air feel heavier. The boy clutched her hand, instinctively sensing the shift, and whispered something that made her grip tighten even more. He moved toward the door cautiously, every step measured. When he opened it, the person standing there wasn't just a stranger, it was someone from her past. Someone whose presence immediately complicated everything. A mix of guilt, fear, and unresolved tension flashed across her face. And he realized this was no longer just about helping her through everyday struggles. Now, secrets she'd kept hidden were surfacing, threatening to undo every ounce of trust he had been trying to build. The visitor's voice was calm, almost too calm, as if they had been waiting for this exact moment. The boy looked up at the exchange, confused but sensing the weight of the tension. The stranger's words hinted at consequences that could affect all of them: the mother, the child, and him, in ways he hadn't anticipated. Every choice now carried more risk, and the clock seemed to tick faster, pressing him toward a decision he wasn't fully prepared to make. He realized that helping her wasn't just about stepping in. It was about navigating a web of past mistakes, threats, and stakes that were far higher than anyone had imagined. And just like that, what seemed like a simple act of courage had transformed into a challenge that could change their lives forever. He felt the weight of the moment press down on him like never before. The stranger's words hung in the air, threatening to unravel everything. But instead of panicking, he took a deep breath and focused on what mattered most: the mother and her son, and the fragile trust he had worked so hard to earn. Stepping forward, he spoke firmly, calmly, and without hesitation, asserting that he would not let fear dictate the outcome. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. The mother watched him, a mix of relief and disbelief in her eyes, while the boy clung to her, whispering again, "Mom's hero." That simple phrase, repeated one last time, gave him the courage to act decisively. He calmly navigated the confrontation, addressing the stranger's demands while protecting the small family. Slowly, the storm began to ease, the stranger realizing that their intimidation would not succeed. Once the door closed and the silence returned, the mother exhaled for the first time in what felt like years. Her gratitude was palpable, her smile cautious but real. The boy hugged him tightly, and in that embrace, he felt the meaning of those words fully for the first time. Mom's hero wasn't just a nickname, it was a promise he had kept. Just when he thought the tension had finally lifted, the phone buzzed. A new message appeared, one that revealed another layer of challenge, unexpected, urgent, and entirely unanticipated. The relief was real, but the story wasn't over. He realized that in helping them, he had opened a door to something far bigger, a test of courage and character that would continue to unfold in ways none of them could yet predict. In the quiet that followed, the tension finally began to dissolve. The mother sank onto the couch, relief washing over her face, while her son climbed onto her lap, still wide-eyed but smiling. He realized that the small acts of courage that Essie